This is going to be part 4 of how I make a junk journal, and today we are going to do the cover. So we're just going to jump straight in. Today I am using old cereal box to do this. You can use chipboard, you can use just plain fabric if you want a soft cover. Today we're going to make a hard cover. Okay, so I have already cut out my cereal box. So I have done it 8 1/4 by 11 1/4 inches. Then we will fold this over and we're going to glue this together just to make it a little bit more sturdy. So our end product is each piece is going to be 5 3/4 by 8 1/4. And then we've also got the spine, and I cut out 2 because I want to reinforce and make this a little bit sturdier. So these are 2 inches by 8 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to just fold these over properly. Alright, and then I'm just going to glue the 2 pieces together. Okay, so we now have our front cover, back cover, and then our spine. So the next thing would be to cover it in either paper, fabric, whatever it is that you choose to do. Today we are doing some fabric. So I'm just going to lay the fabric down. And then you just want to make sure that when you're cutting your fabric or your paper, whatever it is, that you leave, yourself a seam allowance on either side to fold over. Okay. Right, so I'm going to glue this onto the fabric. Okay, now the spine, you want to make sure that you leave about 1/8 of an inch gap between the front cover and the spine. Generally what you could also do is take another piece of the same thickness that you're using and slot that in there and then butt that up against it, and then that would kind of give you the perfect measurement. Okay, so the next step would be to trim the corners, and you'll do this, if you've got paper or fabric, doesn't matter which one you're using. Just making this straight. Okay, so I'm just going to trim off the corner. And I kind of go almost right up to the corner, just not quite, like a smidgen away from the corner. This, I'm not sure if you can see that. Okay. Okay, I've come up with a plan B because the glue that I've used is showing through this very thin white cotton fabric. This is not 3-in-1 glue that's in this bottle. It's a different glue. I just decanted it in here. So that didn't turn out so great, but I found another piece of fabric, this blue. But instead of gluing it on here, what I'm going to do is take it to my sewing machine and sew it along the 4 corners here, so that that's how it's going to adhere to the white fabric, and then I'll fold them both over, and then we can use glue for this part because that's fine, you're not going to see this. Okay, so let me go and stitch that. I will be right back. Okay, I've stitched all of that. You can see, let's get rid of this little thread. Okay, so the next step would be to fold your edges over like so. Okay, so the next step then would be for us to cover the insides. Now you can do this with 3 separate pieces of either paper or fabric, or you can do it in one solid piece. Just make sure you glue it down nicely so that when you you know, bend open the, let me show you in this one. I'm not sure this is, yeah, this is fabric on the inside, and I did one full piece, and I just made sure that I pushed the fabric down and glued it properly, otherwise the fabric will start to buckle. There, you can see I've got a little bit of a, I don't know if you can see that, got a little bit of a bump going there because I didn't put enough glue down there. Sorry guys, I started working again and forgot to turn the camera on. So I found a nice piece of blue corrugated cardboard that I'm going to use for inside because I've got no more fabric left, unfortunately. So as you can see, I'm gluing it a lot. You see it needs to move with the bends, so you've got to get your bends in before the glue dries so that it can maneuver and mold properly. Okay, I think I'm going to have to put this under a heavy book for a bit just to dry. Okay, I'm back. So that is all nice and dry. Okay, so our next step is going to be to sew in the signatures. Okay. I think that spine is a perfect size. Okay, that looks good. Right, so the way I do this, I make myself 2 templates. The first one is the template that I'm going to use to punch the holes into each signature. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then this template is the template that I'm going to use on the inside spine of the actual cover to mark the holes. Now you'll notice that the holes on both of these templates, come on, they actually line up, if you can see that. So they're in line. So make sure you do that. This template has got 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, because I've got 3 signatures. So I need 3 holes for each signature. And I've made them, let's see how far apart they are. I think I've done it in centimeters, yeah. I've made them 1 centimeter apart, but I mean, you can do 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, or it's actually 3/8. Yeah, they're 3/8 apart. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, firstly I need to find the middle of my spine to make sure that this is in the center. Okay, I'm happy with it there. And then I'm just going to get a little bulldog clip or something to hold that on. And then another one for the bottom. Is that straight? Yeah, that's pretty straight. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to mark these holes, or you could just go ahead and pierce straight away. So I'm using this tool. I don't know what it's called. I think it's an owl or I don't know. I call it a hole poker. Okay, so I just go into the one hole. The cereal box is quite tough. Okay. And the next hole. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to get another mat to push on, and then I'm going to use my little hammer to hammer it. Okay, so I'm just going to use this other little mat, put that under there. Right, so now we can remove this. There's my 3 holes. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so now we're going to use this template to make our holes in each signature. So we want to make sure that all of the pages are nicely stacked. Find the middle of the signature. Put your template inside. And you know what I also do once I've done that, I like to take my ruler and just push down, make sure that all of the pages are nicely together, and then I'd get a clip and clip each side so that the pages aren't flying all over the place. Okay, right, then you're going to need some kind of a book. I like to use my flower book. This gives it something that you've got to, you know, that you can push into and make the holes. So you're just going to get your dowel into the first hole and push, second hole, push, and the third hole. And that's that. Now we're going to leave the clips on until we're ready to sew it in. Okay, and we do the next one. So make sure that all the pages are nicely stacked. Where's my middle? There we go. There's the middle. I'm just going to put this template on. Get my ruler, shove it down there nice and hard. Okay, and get my clips, clip each side. Number 2, and then the last one. Right, so that's us got all of our holes. Now we're going to go back to our cover. Now, you always want to, you want to keep these on while you're sewing the signatures in. And you always want to start with the last signature first, and then second, and then the first. Okay, so I just like to use embroidery thread. I know lots of other people use other things. I think you can use string, you can use cord, you can, I'm sure that there's lots of others. Okay, so now what I do to make sure that I've got enough is I go the length of the book 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we're going to thread that. This is one of those really big needles. I don't know if you can see the size of it. You could probably use one a little smaller, but I like to be able to see the hole to thread it. And also the embroidery cord is not that thin. I mean, it's got a bit of... Okay, so we're not going to join the 2 ends. We're going to leave this end like so. Okay, then we find the middle. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go in through the middle. Just leave about that much. And then the middle bottom. And you don't have to pull, don't pull tight. You know, we're only going to pull it tight at the end. Now I have to try and find my hole. It's difficult to see with that fabric. Just pull this back, make sure it doesn't. Okay, now I've gone up to the top one. this top hole here. You sometimes need to just wiggle a little bit before you get your needle all the way through. Then we're going to go from the top to the bottom. And then through this bottom hole. Okay. Now my needles come out. My threads come out of my needle. Okay, now I need a little bit more thread. Okay, now we're going to take your finger and pull so that that thread is nice and taut, because now you've got to go back through that same hole again, and you don't want your needle to end up splitting this first thread that you put through, because then you won't be able to tighten it. And then the same, we're going to pull this one nice and tight, and then back through the middle. Okay, now you can just take both and you can pull them. Now what you should do is put one side of the thread on that side and the other side of the thread on the other, and you can pull this pretty tight. Make sure it's nice and take the needle off. And then you're going to tie this in a nice knot. Okay. And then I like to sometimes cut these a little longer, because I might end up putting some little charms or beads or something that'll hang down. Right, so now we're going to go for signature number 2. We're going to do the same thing. Make sure we do 1, 2, 3. Okay, and make sure you've got your signature the right way around. Through the middle first. Oh, sorry, hit the camera. Okay, then to the top. I'm trying to feel for my hole. That fabric is very difficult to see where my hole is. Okay, then the top of this. Oh, I'm so sorry, I keep hitting the camera. Then we go to the bottom. And now we're going to go back through the middle. Remember to hold that back so that you don't split that. And then the same here, I'm going to hold this one out of the way. You'll know straight away if you've split it, because you won't be able to tighten the threads. If you pull that, you can see it's pretty tight. Sure, I cut a lot off. I didn't need that much when I was measuring. Okay, then signature number 1. Right, now I'm going to do the closure, and I want to do my corners, and then we're going to decorate the front. And so I want these corners to go on because I cut the fabric and the corners a little bit too close to the corner. There we go. Okay, corner's done. Now I'm going to make the closure to do an eyelet on either side. So hole there, hole on the other side, and then your ribbon or your lace gets threaded through, and then you can just tie it as a bow. So I kind of do want to find the center. I'm going to use centimeters. Half of 21 is going to be 10 and a half. So we're going to be about here. 10 and a half. These eyelets have got a nice deep shaft to them because I'm putting it through cardboard fabric. It's got quite a few layers that it's got to grip onto. Now I need to decide what I want to use to close it. I do have some really pretty lace, but then I would have to cut this in half. Let's cut this in half because I need a piece of lace for either side. And then half the ribbon, fold it in half, thread it through, make a loop, catch. Okay, that's one side. Some people prefer to do all this kind of stuff after before they've stuck all the signatures in. Sometimes I do it in a different order. I don't know. I think it depends on what I remember to do. Okay. And then we've got 4 cords, so you can either choose to just tie 2 or all 4. It's not the longest piece of lace, but it'll do. Okay. Right. So now we're going to decorate the top. I have this very pretty image that I want to use. And then I have this wooden frame, so I'm going to have to obviously cut this paper out so that it fits onto the wooden frame properly. And then have a whole bunch of lace and flowers and whatnot. Okay, so this image that I put inside the frame, I don't know if you can see it, and then I glazed the top. It's been 24 hours and I don't like the way it's dried. It's like gone milky, and the image looks really faded now. So I think I'm going to replace this image. I actually think it's because I put too much glaze on the top. So I'm just going to remove this out, and then I've got a new image, this one over here, which I'm going to replace. And I just think the colors and everything will be better. Okay, so I removed that old image, replaced it with a new image, and then I've just painted the frame with some navy blue paint. So okay, then I'm going to stick my pretty lady down here. Now okay, that's on. Right, then I've got a whole bunch of little bits and pieces here that I kind of want to use to just decorate a little bit. I love this little applique, or yeah, like it like so. Stick that down. And then I've got these tiny little blue ones just to add a little bit of color. Okay, then the last thing that I just want to do is maybe add a few beads down the side here, and I could also do a tassel, which might be quite nice. Yeah, I think we'll do that. So first, what we need to make the tassel, which is going to hang from the spine of the journal, some lace, some ribbon, some threads, and we're going to pick up on the colors of the journal. So I've picked out some things that I know will go. So I've got some eyelash trim, and then I've got some navy blue ribbon. These are like offcuts from when I was making the journal. Got a nice piece of lace. There's another ribbon. And then a piece of this blue fabric that I used within the journal. We've got a nice thin piece of blue ribbon. We've got another piece of lace, white lace. And then I've got this. Okay, so now I've cut these to the length of, so if they're folded in half, we can trim, we can trim the tassel later as well. You don't want to start with it too short. So that when it's in half, it's just a little bit longer than the spine, or around about there. And then I'll see once it's hanging, what height I actually want it at. And we also need a little bit of space, the top for gathering, and so the size will shrink a little. Okay, so once we've got all the little pieces that you want for your tassel. Oh, I also started with just a piece of embroidery cord, and I've put a couple of beads on the bottom. And then I'll use this leftover to tie at the top. But now I want to actually do another one with some charms. And you can use anything for this. You can use wax cord, you can use ribbon. It doesn't really matter. I just want this because the holes in my beads are not that large. Okay, so to thread the beads on, I've just got a small piece of wire. It's very thin and easy to bend, and I just take the thread, put it inside, and then I just want to make sure both the edges are the same length. Okay, I'm going to start with the first I want to put a little knot so that the bead doesn't fall past or fall off the end. And I'm going to double knot it because I don't know that one knot is going to be enough to stop the bead from falling down. Okay, and then just thread and use that as like a threader. So I've got that, and then we go and in here I've got this really pretty feather charm. I've also got a butterfly charm and a flower. It's all kind of sticking with the theme. Goes through the journal. So I think, oh actually wait, I have got another butterfly charm that's actually threads like a bead. I think that one's fine. Okay, I'm just gonna cut this little ring off. I don't want the ring. Okay, so back to our piece of thread, and then this just gets threaded on exactly like a bead because it's got a hole through the middle, like so. And then maybe just one more, or will I? Yeah, let's see what it looks like. You can always take it off if it doesn't look good. Yeah, that's pretty. Okay, and then I'm just going to double knot that again. There we go. So that's another one. Okay, so I think that's fine. I'm happy with that. I don't want too much of a chunky tassel. Okay, so I've got these rings. I'm going to use this ring, which is almost like one of those rings that you would use to attach a set of keys or something to. So I'm going to use this. And then I'm just going to pull the one side of the bunch through the ring. Okay, then, oh, my pearls didn't go through. Okay, then make sure that it's nice and, okay, that's good. And we're going to gather it all at the top. We're going to take that same piece of cord, extra little piece of cord, and we're going to make a loop like so. And then, so the shorter end of that loop is in the front here. And we're going to take the longer loop and we're going to wrap it around so it makes it nice and tight. You're creating like a little noose per se. Okay, then you're going to take this extra piece, the part that we've finished wrapping around, you're going to loop it through this blue, the top hoop, like so. Then you're going to take the bottom part of that loop and pull it, and you'll see it pulls the knot underneath. And then you can either tie this or choose to just cut it. It'll stay, even if you don't tie it. Like so. Okay. And we've got a lovely tassel. I actually wanted this to be the front of the tassel, but I don't think it really matters. To attach it to the journal, we are going to put an eyelet hole at the top. So let's start with that. I'm probably going to have to open the journal so that I can get the crocodile in there. And I'm going to make the hole in the center of the spine at the top. Then we are going to put an eyelet. Now you are going to need an eyelet that's got a longer shaft. Not like, I don't know if you can see the difference between these two. This goldy one is a much shorter shaft than the silver one, because we're going through so many layers. Just attach that. Okay, so I didn't get it quite centered, but it's fine. It doesn't really matter. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I have one of these little rings, which are pretty sturdy. It's one that you can open. You can use any rings really, as long as they're gonna, not open and be strong enough. Right, so I am just gonna thread this on. And it is still removable because of the kind of ring that I've used. Okay, like so. Alright, so I'm just going to trim it. Okay, so that is the tassel done. And then one last thing to do, and that is to put some little, actually with these strings that we tied the signatures on with, I think what I don't want them hanging out the bottom. I have these little fabric flowers. Now you don't have to use fabric, you could use paper flowers, you could punch them out of cardstock if you've got a flower punch, or just, you know, standard paper flowers, or anything really. It doesn't have to be a flower. And I'm going to glue, I need both, what am I doing? Like so. I'm going to make a sandwich with the flower. We've got a little dangle, like so. Right, so we are complete now with the Whispers in Blue journal. Done the tassels, signatures, everything is done. Cover. I really hope that you enjoyed this little series of how I create my junk journals. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. And I will definitely see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.